Well, good afternoon, everyone. And today we're going to talk about the 7 bad pieces of advice I'm kind of continuously hearing parents give their kids so that you don't make this same mistake. So we're going to start out with some easy things. Last week I showed you how to go through the Common App and fill things out. And I got a couple of questions on, can I leave the ethnicity blank? Technically you can. Should you? Absolutely not. You know, colleges are on to the fact that college admissions is really selective. It's difficult. You're always looking for that advantage for your child, but that advantage isn't in trying to be deceptive. When they see that something has been left blank, like ethnicity, they wonder if you're trying to game the system. If you are, trying to hope that somebody will think that you're a minority when in fact you're not. So that does not play in your favor. It's not a automatic, oh, they must be a minority. It's more of a, oh, what are they trying to get over on us? And remember, there's that human component. And as a human being, you're like, why does someone want to deceive me? Does that give you a good feeling or a bad feeling? You don't want to go that route, okay? And even if they say, no, it's completely optional, you can leave it blank, and we're not going to make that presumption. I worked in college admissions for 9 years. I know how much the human factor plays in, so don't make that mistake for your child. The next piece of information kind of goes right along with that. So this year they've gone to having students select their pronouns and asking gender identity questions. And I've had families ask me, well, should my child put down that they are part of a community that they're not actually part of? And again, that's a hard no. Don't try to game the system, to be deceptive in order to give your child a perceived benefit. It's really not going to play in their favor in the long run, particularly if a school does ask their current high school, their guidance counselor, for additional information, and the guidance counselor can't support that information. So you don't put incorrect information in hopes that your child will have a better opportunity. The number 3 thing, and I have talked about this in other lives, but I cannot tell you how important it is to not have your child write about one of their activities in their Common App essay. Some colleges will ask, tell us about one of your activities more in depth. Tell us about an obstacle you overcame, in which case maybe you could write about one of your activities and something that you did. But in your Common App essay, you don't want to repeat what is already on your resume, what is already in your activities list. It's as though you're going to a job interview and they ask, well, tell us something that you did in your last job. And you say, oh, well, I was able to build, my account base from 20 to 100 clients. Great. Tell us about an obstacle you overcame. Well, I had to build my account base from 20 to 100 clients. Tell us what you're most proud of in your last job. Well, I built my client base to 100 clients. While that could be important, and while they may appreciate knowing that you did that, and I'm sure it's on your resume already, that's not what they want to hear in the interview. They want to get to know more. And your college application is that. It is your interview for that spot in the college. So you want them to know more about you. You want them to know about your values, your traits, your characteristics that can be showcased through a story in your essay, not repeating what they already can see in black and white. Super important that you take the time to have a professional college admission resume and that you have your activity list really solid, and then write about something else. Write about a personal experience, a personal moment, something that means a lot to you that's not on those lists, okay? Number 4, parents, please stop telling your children to have a coach who is not a teacher write their letters of recommendation. Again, I'm going to relate this to employment because most parents can relate to this. If you are going on a job interview and they say, well, can you give us some references? People you've worked with in the past. They don't want to call your mom. They don't want to call your sister. They don't want to call your husband. College admissions is looking for how you're going to perform in the classroom, not on the field, the court, anywhere else. They're looking for how you're going to perform in the classroom, so they want a teacher to tell them what their experience has been, how you have done in the past. So please stop recommending coaches. I realize the coach knows you well. The coach loves you, but it's not for the right reason. They want to know about that academic piece. Now, if the coach also happens to be a teacher in the school that your child has had, that's different. But if they are just a coach for your child, don't use them for a letter of recommendation. A lot of admission people will automatically discount it because it's not giving the experience they're looking for. So that's really important. Deadlines are not. You don't want to follow deadlines. Parents, stop telling your kid you have plenty of time, you have to get it in. November 1st is the deadline. I'm thinking October 28th, 29th. No, you're late. You're late to the game. You're coming in with thousands of other people. You want to be earlier than the deadline to show that you have it all together. You were ahead of schedule, that you knew this school was that important to you, that you got your application in early. Really early, not at the deadline. So don't tell your children like, oh, you've got all this time. And if you have a junior watching right now, parents, take note of this. You should have the list of colleges ready by June. Their ACT, SAT test scores should be done by June, and you should be starting application essays and so forth in July so that you can complete them in August and submit in September and be done. That is the best path to make sure that your child comes across as being ahead of the game, because that is more important than leaving some blanks elsewhere hoping you can game the system. Okay, number 6. Oh, this is another one. I get this question all the time. All right, let's face it. Some schools have really, really selective programs within the school. So for instance, engineering or a business college. And so parents will say, what if we put their major as like classical literature or some other obscure major that clearly doesn't get as many applicants, philosophy, something like that. And then once they get into the school, then they can transfer into their major. And I can tell you that's not a great plan for a couple reasons. First of all, if they haven't expressed any interest in the classics, their teacher's writing their letter of recommendation, and the teacher's not speaking to their outstanding English ability and how they've always mentioned about wanting to go into the classics. They haven't had AP Lit and AP Lang, which would support maybe pursuing the classics. It's going to kind of stand out to them that this may not be a reality. But more importantly, much more importantly, those selective programs often are even harder to get into once you get there. If you're not admitted directly into them, you're going to have to wait, and then you're going to have to hope there's space and that you're going to have better grades than anyone else who decided they want to transfer into that program at that point in time. It is not the best route for your child. It's more stress because they've got to go through it all over again by applying to get into that selective program. Not all programs are that selective, but there are some that are. And having your child apply to something they don't want to do in hopes of just getting into a school is not the best idea. It just doesn't play out well for students down the road. They're frustrated. They have to apply again. It's a hassle. They're studying something they hate and they have to get really good grades to get into the program they really want, so don't do it. And then finally, and I think this is the most important piece of advice no matter where you are in this process, it's great to encourage your children. I encourage kids all day long. I want them to reach for their goals and strive for being the best they can be, getting into the best school, the best opportunity for them. But if you're going to tell your children to apply to really selective schools, to apply to a list of Ivies, schools that typically don't award merit money, you have to also be willing to write checks for $70,000 a year. And if you are not willing to write checks for $70,000 a year, and you tell your kid, yes, apply here, let's see what happens. I'm going to tell you right now, those schools, while they meet need, your idea of need and their idea of need are two different things. I'm going to give you a little hint at what's coming in October when we start talking about financial aid. But I can tell you last year, for a family of 4 making $60,000 a year total, family of 4, $60,000 a year total, they were awarded through the government, through FAFSA, after they filed their FAFSA, through financial aid, they were awarded about $450 for the entire year. That's their financial aid award if they're making $60,000 a year and they're a family of 4. So for you to qualify to have a need, the income, factor, you really have to consider it. Now, some of the Ivies will allow you, if you're making anything under 75 or under 80,000, they will help you meet your need. But for a lot of families where there are both mom and dad have an income coming in and they're into 6 figures, they're not meeting your need, okay? So you're setting your child up to be disappointed if they do get in there, or for you and your child to have a lot of debt down the road. So you want to know, what is that price point? Where are you at? So that you know before you start encouraging your child to apply to schools that you can actually afford those schools, that you're likely to get merit, or you're likely to get need-based money, so that there's no, oh my gosh, my kid worked so hard, they got in, now what do I do? And I've seen this, and this is why I'm sharing this with you, because it's crushing when we have to sit here and have a discussion that, oh gosh, you're going to be X dollars in debt at the end of 4 years. If you attend this school, is it really worth it to you? So if you have those conversations early, and again, if your child's a junior or sophomore, definitely having those conversations early as you're thinking about visiting schools, it makes a huge difference. And I find that too often families wait till long, and they wait to see what we're going to get first, only to find out that they're really disappointed. We can give you a good idea of what, for all of our clients, we give them a good idea. This school's really generous. You're going to get about this kind of money based on, what they've done in the past. This school's not as generous. These two schools super similar, but that generosity makes a difference. So you've got to, keep that in mind when you're applying to schools. So if you have any questions, need any help, go ahead and message us. We'll be happy to schedule a call for you so that we can talk about it and see if, we can, in fact, help you out in some way. So don't leave things blank about ethnicity. Don't try to have your child appear as though they belong to a group that they don't belong to. Don't have them write their essays about any of their activities that appear in the 10 activities or on their resume. Don't have your child use a coach as a recommender. Please have them use teachers. Core teachers are great. They can use some elective teachers as well. Just have it be a teacher. Don't think that you should wait till the very end to apply and tell your child they have all this time. Early applications get the best decisions. Don't apply for a bizarre major in hopes of transferring into the major you really want later. Not a good game plan. Just put your kid under more stress down the road. And then don't avoid the conversation about what schools you can really afford. What schools make the most sense financially. Remember, schools have to meet your needs 3 ways. Academically, have to be able to get you to the career that you're looking for. It has to have the right major. Socially, it has to be the kind of vibe your kid wants. Do they want Big Ten sports? Do they want a theater program? Do they want to be in a city, in the country? Whatever it is for them, it's got to meet that need. And then financially, is it doable for your child and you as a family to finance it? And does it make sense with what kind of degree they're going to come out with and so forth? So those are things you need to consider, and hopefully this was helpful, and I'll talk to you soon.